Hello and welcome. Andy from Twisted Narrative here, and we are once again going to descend into Times Undreamed of, a Shadowdark actual play. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Let us do quick introductions of our wonderful cast and my friends. We'll start off with you, Natasha, as always.
Hello, my name is Natasha. I am Dutch and I live in the Netherlands. I've known Andy through friends in Nottingham, where I visited his shop ages ago. I've been playing Shadowrun for about 8 years, Dungeons and Dragons for about 6 years, and Shadowdark for about 3 weeks. And it's an amazing game.
Yeah, it's I've run a few games over the weekend actually for some players that haven't played before, and they've been blown away by it. It's an interesting one because on paper, especially to people who haven't played sort of older school sort of games or familiar with the vibe of them, it's not so much a hard sell. It's just I don't understand. I don't see it. But as soon as you run a game for them and they, oh, you can do that, yeah, sounds cool, go for it. It's suddenly like there's a light literally kind of flashes of, wow, I can do that, that's amazing. So I've had an absolute blast this weekend running a lot of Shadowdark, and um, I sometimes feel like I'm a little bit preaching, but it's not. I just want to share my enthusiasm with it because I'm very much enjoying running it as well. So thank you for joining us again. We'll move across to quite possibly my partner in crime these days, Matt.
Have been no crimes. None of it is provable. Yes, hello. I'm Matt. I am, as Andy said, partner in crime. So we've been relatively new friends, but have been working together furiously for the past couple of months, and the fruits of our labours will start to appear on exciting online platforms and things. Basically, we've been writing some adventures together, some of which may be quite familiar, and we will. Yeah, we should be able to share some more
It, it,
news of those in coming weeks.
it's so close now.
It
It's so
is.
close now.
It's
Yeah,
nearly there. I've clicked the button. I'm waiting for them to say it's okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yes,
Uh, well,
and relatively new to Shadow Dark, but thoroughly enjoying it.
well,
And
it's a new game. I mean, it's literally the Kickstarter is probably about 3-4 weeks sort of old. So we're new to. I'm new to. Everybody's new to Shadowdark. And it's fascinating to see. Last but not least, though, Malcolm, please.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Good evening, all. Been loving Shadowdark in its various forms. Have played many different scales of game over the years, Shadowrun, Dungeons and Dragons, and similar. But was a fan of the Arcane Library and the work that Kelsey and the team have been doing since day one. So more than happy to keep adventuring in times undreamt of and torches lit.
Yeah, keep those torches lit. Amazing. Well, at the end of the last session, our characters leveled up. So we're going to do a quick little bit of admin. I thought it'd be fun for you to sort of watch them roll their hit points and quickly say what has happened to their character, mechanically anyway. And then we're going to dive straight into the game itself. So we'll start this time with Malcolm and we'll just work backwards. So, yeah, first roll of the night. So just remind us, what is Thorsten?
Thorsten is a dwarven thief, so
Okay.
does have the benefit of rolling for his hit points with advantage, but his hit points are only a d4, so the highest of these two. May I roll well?
Yeah. Okay.
A
Is that
3.
a 3? Is that right? Yeah, it's a 2.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a 3.
These dice are so yeah, so well done, a 3. And we had this discussion just off screen. You do add your con modifier when you're level 1. Level 2 onwards, it's just straight rolls. So well done. 3 points is not too bad.
Yeah.
Also, as a reminder, what else do you get at level 2 being a thief?
My backstab, so if I'm able to attack a target that is unaware of me, gains an extra level of dice.
Mhm.
So I would be attacking with 2 extra dice, thanks to the divided by 2 round down mechanic actually now having a positive number.
Yeah. And
And that's about it.
yeah, well, I mean that's fairly cool because the language is a bit strange there. 2 extra dice actually means you roll 3 dice,
Yes.
doesn't it? Which is 3d4,
Yep.
which doesn't sound a lot, but that's guaranteed 3 hit points of damage.
Mhm.
You know that. I mean, it could be quite interesting to see how this comes out, and up to 12 points of damage as well. No, is that right? 3 fours is
Yep.
yeah, 12. That's maths. I did it in my head without realizing it. So I mean, yeah, you're probably the MVP of the game now. This is going to be great.
If I can engineer a situation where
Yeah,
I am attacking from unawares.
absolutely. And then we will cycle up to Matt. Drago. What is Drago?
Ringo is a half orc priest,
Mhm.
so I am going to roll a d6.
That's the one. That is.
Excellent, excellent, great. That tracks. That's very on par with everything that's gone by so far.
Hey,
Great.
it's
So,
okay. You don't need
I
hit
mean, it's
points.
one more
Having
than I had, so it's all good. Yeah, and then the only other thing that I get at level 2 as a priest is I get to choose another level 1 spell. So
Mhm.
I'm going to choose the light spell. So in theory, I will never ever need a torch again. On the
Okay.
basis of my
We'll,
rolls so far,
yeah,
unlikely.
we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then, last but not least, Natasha, who is Roja.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oof.
that is meaty. Very nice. So,
Uh,
Two ends of the spectrum
yeah, full 8
there.
points. That is very, very nice. Um, uh, what type of character is Roja?
he's a fighter, so other than his hit points increase, he gets his level divided by 2, rounded down, damage on the attack roll, and +1 on the attack roll now,
Yeah,
and +1 on damage as well, but only on his favorite weapon.
yeah. Okay,
Oh.
it's interesting. Um, what is your favorite weapon?
It's a great sword.
Great sword. Okay.
It's a D12.
Yeah, I mean, I often define D12s as the swingiest of most dice, capable of cleaving things in half with the 12 or a paper cut on one. So, but you've got modifiers, which is good as well. We will see how that happens. Well, now, because now we've done that admin, provided everybody is ready and seated at the table. Let's play some Shadowdark and enter times undreamed of. So you find yourselves in the city-state of Ibaihori. A few days have passed since you delved into the den of the Red Masks. There have been repercussions, boons and promises made that if you assist Vegeta, the supposedly the bloodline of the head of the Red Masks, in reassessing, retaking, bringing organization to the criminal elements within the thieves district. Um, this could work out very, very well for you all. And you've had a couple of days of carousing on Vegeta. You've drank and you've eaten, quite possibly like you've never done before, waiting for the next bit of information. That information came, and now you find yourself in an uncomfortable predicament. You are being led down some damp, dank corridors, definitely below ground. Exactly where, you're unsure, for you have sacks of rough hessian over each of your heads. To make things worse, they are sort of held tight with some cord around your throat, and almost like dogs on leashes, you are being led down deeper into the unknown. Although you do know your destination, and this is making things perhaps even more unsettling, for you are being taken to the grotto, as it is well known, although no one truly knows really where it is. The grotto being the den of one of the most infamous moneylenders, information brokers throughout the whole of Ibihor. An individual that is simply known as Tuza the Toad. Your journey is long. You're not sure whether it is deliberately long or whether you have been repeatedly moved round in circles to ensure that your sense of direction is confused, until eventually you come to a stop, the cord undone, and one at a time the sacks roughly ripped from your faces, and through the hessian you can see this room is lit, as you can see sort of sparkly lights. As the sack is fully removed, though, your eyes become accustomed to the new light, to this place, the grotto, and to Tuza himself. You can certainly see why he is called the Toad. A large man, blubberous, bloated flesh, though, some kind of condition, meaning that he is swollen and hunched. A patch of scraggly hair on his head and big, bloated lips, meaning that when he smiles, and he does smile as if he's about to feast, it is unsettling. A loathsome tongue comes out of his mouth as he licks his lips in anticipation. This is Tuza, of course, and is that sweat on his skin or just a trick of the light? You begin to take him in, and he begins to take you in, what you all look like. We'll start off with you, Rosia. What does he see standing before him?
5'5", very bulky, muscular in his upper torso, but he skipped leg day, literally. He's got a peg leg. Wavy dark hair, shot through with silver, because he's getting on a bit in years, but ruggedly handsome and charismatic, and he can play a mean tune on basically any instrument if he wants to, including his vocal cords.
Very nice. Drago.
Drago is tall and quite solidly built, so is sort of over 6 feet, a half orc with green-grey skin and kind of tusks on his lower jaw, jutting outward, and definitely has the look of kind of angry barbarian, but which is juxtaposed by his priest's robes in dark blue and the staff that he carries as he walks, and kind of hair pulled back in a Ronin top knot. And he carries himself with a slight kind of hunching of the shoulders, and not a stoop, but there's a definite sense that he's trying to make himself seem smaller than he is.
Very nice. And Thorsten.
Thorsten, in grand contrast to his two companions is the scrawny, thin, very atypical dwarf, light on his feet, eyes darting everywhere, trying to take in as much as possible.
Very nice. With your arrival, he reaches across, picks up a stone, and you see it sparkle in the light, an emerald, you think, and he sort of tosses it onto the floor. The gem begins to sort of roll and scatters between a number of crates. The whole of this place is mounted with crates upon crates upon crates, no particular order. You see that some of them are open and goods are spilling out, others are nailed shut. And as he tosses his gem, the harlot sitting on his lap, wide-eyed, looks and dives for it, scrambling between the boxes. All right, you are the ones that Vegeta sent, yes? Good, good. It is interesting times we live in. The blood of the Red Masks returned to Ibaiho. Well, so she says. No real truth in that as yet. But since when have truths ever mattered in Ibaihori, eh? Yeah, uh-huh. Wow,
Perception is everything, my good friend.
wow, this has my interest, and they have well, purchased services from me to help. Not everything can be purchased directly that way, though. So we'll see how this goes. We see what you ask and what I can tell. And who knows, maybe some deals just between us two. Eh? Well,
Anything is possible with a new meat.
nah. Business is business, and I am the best to have upon your side. So, this Tallow man, this Thut Memu, I have been told this is what interests you. I am not interested in your purpose, just been employed to help you with informations about his estate, his tower, all that I know to help you get egress. Yes. So, ask away. Or do you wish me to tell you what I know?
I think, tell us what you know, with the guidance that as much information as you're able to give about
Well, the
route
amount
in,
of
route out.
information the amount of information I am able to give is most definitely based on the amount of coin I received from Vegeta. This is how it works.
There.
A Thut Memu is, without doubt, one of the older individuals of Ibaiho. He seems to have lasted centuries. Long-lived, tall, gaunt. Does not walk the streets very much at all. Prefers to stay in his tower.
Does he only comes out at night? perchance?
Rarely even at night. He seems to preoccupied with his studies or whatever foul rituals he does within the walls of his tower. In fact, few leave his estate. Much supplies are ordered in, delivered to the gates and taken in for him. He has in his employ a fair amount of savage warriors, those from the wastes of Kithiga. You are perhaps aware of those, ashen skin and their tribal tattoos. But it seems even with them that are no more than loyal dogs, he has taken cautions, for he has removed their tongues so that his secrets cannot be spoken of should they be questioned. I had
They can't write or read either?
they are from Kathiga. Writing and reading has little use. In the wastes, there is just the survival, the next meal, avoiding being the next meal. But do not take their illiteracy as stupidity. They are cunning, and they are brutal. So that makes up most of his staff, as it were, certainly his guards, those that are perhaps seen upon the streets. It has taken a while, but we have an idea that his estate is large, it is walled, and it is separate from the other estates. The wall rises close to 15 feet or so, but it is designed to dissuade those that wish to try and climb it with sharp spikes upon it. And before you get any ideas that, sharp spike, that is useful for attaching my rope to. And no, these are not an aid to climbing over the wall, but a method of stopping you. They are razor sharp, and any rope thrown over them will be cut in a heartbeat. They can easily shred anyone trying to clamber over, unless that you have the right equipment or use the right method. The front of the estate seems to be a number of chambers, and gated and guarded doorways and bars, that eventually lead to the front entrance of his tower itself. Small but well guarded at all times. Beyond, though, is the larger part of the estate itself. This is a mess, a tangle of gardens, wild and overgrown to a good height, making it difficult to see from a vantage point looking down. It has been noticed that amongst the gardens there are seeded very dangerous blooms of the black lotus, which, if disturbed, will give you, at best, terrible nightmares, at worst, death. It is difficult to know what else lives amongst that mass of vegetation, but it is well known that at night one of these warriors of Kithiga is a beast master, and he unleashes some creatures to patrol the gardens. Have you thought that was bad enough? Where you really want to go is the tower, and the tower is, well, I find it unnerving. It's an unholy building, tall, tapering. There is strange black grease that seems to ooze out of small pore-like holes within the tower walls, giving the tower the appearance of a gigantic misshapen candle. At the top of the tower, oily Stygian smoke plumes out, also reinforcing this image. What this substance is, I know not. It does seem to set, and in the walls are a number of skulls embedded in it too. Your account is beginning to run low now.
We've spoken of the walls. We've spoken of the garden. We've spoken of the tower. Does the tower have any underground? Is there any direct access? Again, well guarded, well secreted, I understand. But if we can avoid having to go through all of these experiences.
Indeed, it was my first thought, and alas, no. It seems that someone who has lived centuries understands that having sewerage is bad. For a place like Ibaihori, it is the first port of call. There was maybe sewers, but certainly my agents saw them all collapsed, unused. One assumes this Tallow man and does not need to have bodily functions.
Is there any event or person that could encourage him to leave his tower? For example, a party thrown at a certain tavern or a certain theater performance, or
He seems to not have a social life. Seems to be obsessed with whatever he does in that tower. From the whispers that I've heard, you have heard the last time he left the tower 50 years ago. That did not end well.
no, it definitely didn't.
You mentioned deliveries of supplies.
They merely go to the front of the complex and then taken in.
How do you know who delivers them?
It wouldn't be difficult to find out. It was mainly, one assumes, to be produce for the warriors' sustenance, and certain alchemical supplies as well. He pauses for a moment and says, there is a goblin by the name of Libus. I believe that he's an alchemist of sorts, and he has been known to send products to the tower.
And do you know if he is a... I'm getting the impression the Talaman doesn't have friends, but is he on good terms or at a distance or
Nah.
bad terms but needs the money?
Uh, the winds of friendship and alliances in Ibayora change constantly. Who knows? If you try to extract information out of him, I think he will certainly be on the Tallow Man's list of enemies very rapidly. And that might be enough to stop him wishing to speak with you.
And just one last thought on deliveries. Do you know, are large boxes common enough, or are they all small crates,
I mean,
or does it
it,
vary?
it varies, I guess. It varies. It is unlikely that these guards they take in the deliveries. There seems to be little organisation, but trapped in a box, surrounded by several warriors. I mean, that is a brave way to go.
Only thinking of any options I can think of.
Indeed, indeed. And well, I think there we have it. Obviously, if you have coin or anything else, more questions, or perhaps if you are set on whatever you wish to do there, and well, perhaps there's something you can do for me.
In the tower? Is that your
Yes.
intent? A little side adventure, a little coincidence of being in the right place at the right time to support your needs.
A
One that
retrieval
doesn't.
mission?
Mhm.
Well, it has come to my attention that this Thut Memu, he is the holder of an item called the Jewel of Nai Dinome. It's a beautiful gem, large sapphire. I'm so fond of such things. Uh, if you were to retrieve it for me, well, my services would be available to you. Or if you wish just to sell it to me, I have coin.
Well, if you wanted us to acquire it for you, then surely it's in your best interests that we get in
Oh,
safely.
indeed.
And out again. Mhm.
Well, I see that you are trying to negotiate.
It's simply that if there is any more you can tell us, or if there is any route that you have heard or feel with from your own experience of such doings and dealings, might be the better route to try,
Hmm. Who
the
can
better
say
advice we get.
uh, if I really wanted it and I thought I could get hold of it, do you think I would not have tried to send some people in already? Or maybe I have tried to send some people in, and the way I have uncovered this information is through their trials and errors. So everything you have at the moment has been brought to you by the failures of people not being able to bring the jewel to me. Of course,
The
if you wish supplies, equipment, or coin on account to help, then that can be arranged at a fair rate of interest.
I have one question. What shop or shops do the groceries for the warriors come from?
Various ones from the marketplace. There's a string of them. I can give you that list should you wish it.
Yes, please.
He kind of makes a gesture, and out of the shadows between a couple of crates, sort of stooping halfling kind of comes forward, and they already have it in their hand, this piece of parchment, as if they were anticipating such a question being asked, and he just kind of rubs his nose. There's this kind of black snot is coming out of it and passes it across to you. It's not on the parchment. So, decision yours, really. This most definitely sounds troublesome, sounds very difficult, but that's where great rewards come from.
Tuza, I wonder if you have somewhere where we three may talk,
Yes, here.
at least, to make a plan before we decide on
Here.
if we need any.
You,
Fair enough.
you what wish to not speak in front of me? You want to have secrets from me?
I didn't think you'd
His
want to listen in
eyes
to our
begins to
idle
bulge.
planning. Then fine, I will speak with my friend.
I get where he's coming from. I mean, like all the previous attempts to recover that sapphire, it's all trial and error. So if you know what we planned and we fail, he knows what doesn't work.
That's fair. Okay.
I mean,
Well,
trying to look on the positive side. If you fail, I will have learned some more, and maybe the next would be successful. Again, he kind of licks his lips in anticipation.
Are there any like narrow alleyways next to the enclosure wall that we could reach the wall from a neighboring building, for example?
Climbing the walls should not be too problematic if you have the right gear. The estate, as I say, stands alone. There's not so much alleyways, but sort of streets. It is in the sort of noble district, as you would imagine. There has been a huge amount of coin spent on this construction over the centuries.
You
Are
speak.
there any windows or glazed areas in the tower or
Just
any of the buildings
the
that can be seen from
just these
the wall?
strange holes, circular, no more than a few inches, through which this black sludge oozes.
So much for like tossing in a couple of windows and talking our way in as glaciers.
Uh, yes, I'm not sure. I think if you become invited into his tower, you shouldn't expect to be leaving.
Mm.
so it sounds like the two options that occur to me is we get equipment that will allow us to not be impaled in the process and we try and climb over the wall. And maybe we make our way through the gardens. Admittedly, there's a risk of creatures and
Yeah, we need
But
the
it does sound like
equivalent.
there's places to hide, if nothing else.
Need the equivalent of a gas mask, a respiratory device, so we don't breathe in the potential Black Lotus.
Yes.
So
Or
Mm.
my only other thought is we get delivered in crates and we get in and find out where the crates get left and we go from there. If we were to mark them as our chemical supplies, then they might be more likely to be delivered to the tower directly. But as our good host has already pointed out, that does mean that we are in boxes or a box surrounded by lots of potentially angry people.
I
And
thought
also, alchemical supplies generally don't come in very large boxes.
Well, it
when Crew 4 thought of that, I indeed thought it was a very good idea as well.
just
What if we could send in as a shipment of like blankets or something? You know, stuff they don't immediately need and they will just put in a storage room.
But if it's been tried and was unsuccessful, one imagines they were discovered.
Well,
yes, I was about to ask what did happen to Crew 4.
I do not know. They didn't report back to me. I mean, maybe they have stolen the jewel lefty by Hori and are carousing their way across the empires, the shining kingdoms. I mean, no, let's face it, they are dead. But the idea is sound. Maybe they made a noise. Maybe they got claustrophobic. Who knows? Still a good idea.
Sounds
mean-
like it might be worth trying something else first.
It's up to you.
Yeah. You
Well, we
speak
might
of
need
the
like
right,
a. Go ahead, Thorsten.
you speak of the right equipment to climb the walls. More than a well
Grapple will be
grappling
good to get you up, but then these spikes. I happen to have some equipment that is useful. You also mentioned masks.
Mm.
I have equipment that you might find useful should you wish, built upon my experiences of
That
failure.
was definitely my intent, was the opportunity for us to be well prepared. And I think as we are heading towards the sketch of a plan, perhaps at best, over the walls, cover of darkness, through the gardens. Unfortunately, that leaves us at the front door of the tower, but I think that's the only way in by the sounds of it.
Sounds
The
like
tower
there is but one door.
is climbable without a doubt. The irregular shape of it, this ooze that seems to set solid, plenty of handholds. Crew
But
2 thought so anyway.
but a point of egress to the tower itself to actually get within it, where we might find your Sapphire and we might find Thutmemu himself, because our intent is their demise, shall we say.
Many have tried, yes, over the centuries. Interesting. Well, all I can say is at the top of the tower, smoke plumes out, so there must be some entrance from the roof. But
Into a fire, perhaps.
Well,
Yeah, I was thinking about like a wooden frame with leather, like a saddle to put on top of the wall over the spikes to help us safely get over it. I'm pretty sure like something like a carpenter could make something for us?
I wondered effectively a sheet of chainmail or something that we could lay over that would not be pierced. Their razor sharp was, yeah. So I was just thinking in a similar vein, but more in the something that would be able to be
I
brought then
mean,
with us.
it was only the first crew that failed at the spikes. From then, we had to adapt and find a way to get the others across, and we have refined that. There is no worry, provided you have the coin to purchase the equipment. But as you have said, I am keen to ensure that you are successful. So if you do not have the coin, then a loan perhaps.
Well, how much how much coin would it take to acquire the climbing gear we would need and the means of traversing the spikes and the gas masks of which we have spoken? How
Well,
much coin would that take?
it is difficult, but we could say maybe 100 gold to ensure your safety into the gardens and through the gardens at least. I think that is fair, with interest played daily.
And how much is the jewel worth to you?
That is priceless. Yes,
So
priceless. I am not hiding anything from you. Business after all.
So if we were to partake of your generous offer and to be supplied from your good selves method of entry to the tower base, or at least to support our tower entry, returning with the gem would obviously easily cover any expenditure and leave us with a couple of 100 gold pieces each,
I
at least.
like your thought there. Um, how about you help yourselves to anything else you find in the tower to recompense you, and whatever task this slip of a girl has sent you on. You bring the jewel to me, and we will forget the loan and the interest, and well, there might be more work from me in the future. Let us
that
not grubby ourselves with the talk of mere coin.
I think that seems like a sensible investment on our part.
It's what you said last week, and we came out empty-handed too.
There's a long game to be played here, I think. Um, and there is more to be gained for not just us, but for the folk of this city, I think. Um, and if there are, I'm sure there are things of value to be found in a tower like this.
I would ask
Sure.
to Tuzar, I would ask of you then, if you are willing to support us in this endeavour, would you also then support Vigita and her claim to the bloodline of the Red Mask? We are not looking for, as you say, the cold hard coin. We are building beyond that at this point, and we are risking ourselves for, and Thorsten doesn't even quite believe he is saying this himself, we are risking ourselves for something bigger than individual gain.
Heroics.
Effectively, yes. On the part of another, on behalf of another, heroics.
I cannot say I will support this slip of a girl, if she proves to be strong and rally together, create a new red masks, then there is good business to be had between myself and them.
Hmm.
But I have other businesses as well, and to throw them away under supporting a single individual, regardless of age or sex, then that would be bad business. But I will certainly look favourably upon them.
Yeah, if not, then a singular one-to-one contractual basis, if we're thinking in the grand scheme of the city. At least non-hostility would be much preferred.
I love everybody. Well, what makes you think that I am hostile?
Just looking to preserve
There
the
are
opportunity.
terrible stories on the streets about me, how I
Mm.
speak a single word and people die. Believe me, uh, believe me, they are just mere rumours.
I
Okay, let's
believe.
get on with it. Come on.
It's quite a good way to. Okay, we're out of here.
Yep, was searching for a political way to do it, but no, that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are bagged and tagged once again. You are given the items that you have requested that are going to help get you at least closer um, to the tower itself, and eventually the bags are taken from your heads and you're out on the effluent filled streets of the wet. Okay, so well done. You have got information which is important, and hopefully that is going to help you. You know that there's no entrance from the sewers, and perhaps the wall is your best bet. Going by night is dangerous, but going by day even more so, because the guards will no doubt spot you. You do have a small, well, you've got a degree of time, but you know that you have got a time pressure somewhat in the fact that interest is being added to the loan that you were given. And it could be, even though he said the gem was priceless, that if you do take too long, that there might be a chance that you might end up in a degree of debt. Best to keep on the best side of Tuza the Toad. But you've also got a few sort of potential leads. There was this alchemist, and there was the provisions suppliers, if you wanted to proceed with that, or we can just move the action straight to the walls of this Garden of Doom.
So with the conversation that's happened kind of
Yeah, yeah.
pre-session, with Boreas and Agita,
hmm
have we been given a specific objective, or is it just vengeance or
Well,
proof
it
or
seems that her grandmother from
Hmm.
the Red Mask can't come to rest without the death of the
yeah,
Tallow man,
that we have to?
which is a tough task. This is a centuries old sorcerer that seems to have taken on all of the Red Masks directly and, and decimated them. So, simply rocking up to his front door, knocking on it, and trying to kill him face to face is going to be
He's fine.
problematic.
It'll be fine.
But
It might be me, but the only creatures that I know that live for centuries are not really living; they're undead.
hmm,
What if our biggest chance to catch them unawares is not by night but by day?
I think it certainly sounded like getting in by day is going to be a lot more difficult. And as a priest, with my experience of undead and undeath and such things,
mhm.
and just generally, I would like, if possible, to make some sort of a check for my own general awareness of, is centuries old tying us to something like it's pointing directly at something that is undead, or are there other
Not at all.
creatures like it?
It could be some kind of demon or devil or some pact with some other supernatural creature,
Yeah.
some blasphemous act. There are
So,
whole black books written upon uh, sorcerous ways to extend one's life.
so it's
Um,
not necessarily tying us into the V word and them being asleep while we're in the daytime, unfortunately.
absolutely not.
Which isn't to say it's not the case, but it's also, it just feels that's a gamble
Mhm.
for.
I mean, he's got absolutely living guards there that are not ghoul-like. They are savage warriors that he's had their tongues removed from them. So that's not saying that some kind of vampiric overlord can't have that kind of retinue. But no, I mean you don't even need to make a roll for.
Okay.
I mean it's kind of almost like the first classic go to. Oh, it's a vampire. Believe me, this is Shadowdark. There are so much more worse things than just vampires. And the worst of them all is, especially in times undreamed of, is the blasphemous things that mortals do.
Mhm. Might it be valuable to have a conversation with the alchemist, the provider of what goods and services he's purchasing, that might clue us into his nature and or any weaknesses?
Yeah.
Given that there is this wide range of possibilities, that
Yeah.
might give us some either defenses against what he might be, or
I vote no against that because obviously this guy is a huge client of the goblin, of the
yeah,
alchemist,
Yeah.
and any inquiries we make might it might be more profitable for him to let our enemy know that we're coming.
yep, that's fair. There's no way of knowing that he won't be able to get a message there.
Yep. Unless
Fast.
we kill him, I'm not sure we're prepared to do that.
No.
And
No.
that even that in itself might be a warning to
Yeah.
someone as paranoid as a centuries old sorcerer.
Yeah. The only thought would be subterfuge and going in as trying to pose as a merchant and get information and stuff like that. But it's certainly not something that I think I am capable of.
I mean,
Um,
don't forget you could again it's sometimes quite difficult to take your mind away from we go and we fight the alchemist, we kill the alchemist. You can just try and maybe break in and look at his records and see if you can pick up any. You can do kind of investigative type things. Doesn't have to be social, can be explorative, it can be
that's a thought.
combative. um, it's this is one of the things that I love about Shadowdark is sometimes you have to even think outside of the standard box of gameplay to go, well, you can do these, you can do all of these other things as well. And I'm not leading you down a path. I'm just saying
Mm.
you have these options should you wish.
Night
I'm being
break-in.
attacked by a cat.
Yes.
A night break-in and looking at his ledger might be interesting. It might be interesting just to know, because it would be useful to know that, I don't know, in a perfect world, 14 barrels of gunpowder were delivered and have been placed at the base of the tower, or something helpful like that.
Oh yes, that would be a nice distraction.
Or just, we don't have to fight the individual; we just blow them up. Um,
Yeah, I would suggest in that case to go for the ledgers instead of going through stocks and stuff like that. Just a quick in and out and check the books, see if I can find deliveries that were made in the past year or something.
that feels like a
It
strategic.
might also be valuable to understand who else this alchemist has trade with in the city, thinking beyond the individual moment.
Yeah, no, wouldn't hurt to have that information. That's another thing that might be useful, a nice thing to give to Vigita as a
Yes.
securing our relationship there, or potentially Tuza might be interested in that as information, being a
Yes.
broker. Yeah, that feels like the right thing to do then, is do a subtle bit of burglary and information stealing.
So we'll cut scene. We'll open up a scene. Are you intending to do this at night time?
I mean, I'm gonna need all of the dexterous assistance I can get, unless I just stand outside on the guard.
What is this thing called dexterity you're talking about?
Sorry, I'm just not. Yes.
So you case the joint. Let us do this first, as
Yeah.
this is in sort of kind of in one of the sort of lower districts, where a lot of trade sort of comes on. There are a number of disparate sort of marketplaces around here, and just off one of those, and down a sort of crooked alleyway, um, there is this sort of alchemist's shop of sorts. It's not really a shop. You wouldn't have known it had you been given the directions. And you kind of can see that there is sort of windows that the shutters are open at the moment, so you can sort of look in. It's very grimy, and the grime is quite interestingly not on the outside but on the inside of the window. Probably because of all of the experimentations inside. It's got a little bit of a sort of sign outside which basically says Libus Libations. And it's kind of in a bad state of repair, the whole sort of property. Um, it doesn't look like he makes a lot of money, or rather, that might be a deliberate front to ensure that he doesn't get robbed all of the time. Now, this is kind of a tenement building, so it's got another property to one side, but there's a very small, narrow gunnel down the side of it that leads again round the back. It's a two-story building. With the upper part of the property slightly larger than the lower part, so there's an overhang at the top. Again, windows up there. It's a tiled roof, and it's not flat. It's kind of sloped both sides, and the tiled roof goes all the way down. Sort of moving down the alleyway and down the back of the gunnel, there is indeed a back door. There is a back window as well, but that is boarded up, like actively nailed across. The back door does look openable as well. There's obviously kind of a lot of sewerage running down this back alley. Everybody's used the upper windows just to throw out the slop buckets and the like. So that is more or less what it looks like. Through the window you can see it just seems to be a single room, and then probably a back room. a set of stairs is probably in the back room leading up to the upper property. And through there you can see there's a number of tables with alchemical equipment, flasks, sort of bubbling kind of liquids. And you can see Libus as well, a goblin. He's heavily burned down one side of his face and arm, so much so that he seems to have difficulty moving the fingers of his right hand. His ear is completely missing on the right side where all of the burns are. But he moves around almost as if he is conducting an orchestra with great dexterity and skill, shaking bottles and mixing things. It's almost impossible to tell what he's doing through the window, though.
I suggest, can we see if he has eyes on the back of the building in the back room?
The door is closed between the two buildings, so he can't see through it. He seems to be concentrating on what he's doing at the moment, so it's quite nice as well because everything is lit up, so you don't have to worry about torches for the moment. This is during the daytime, though. One assumes that at some point he will get tired and he'll either go into the back room or maybe upstairs or maybe out. You know, not everybody's a hermit. Some people do leave their properties. You could wait for him to sort of leave, and the only resource this drains is time, and time equals interest here.
I suggest we go into the back and Thorsten goes in and find the ledger while me and Drago stand guard downstairs in the back room, making sure that the goblin doesn't discover us, or if he does, we can deter him from doing anything.
I think that is wise.
That sounds like a plan.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to initiatives now, not because it's combat, but because we will do a play order. So if everybody rolls, whoever's first will get to go first, and then we'll go around the table.
And not me.
I think that's a minus number, isn't it?
-1.
That is
yeah, because you add your dex to it.
Yeah.
It's a 6 for. Oh well.
7 for me.
Okay, so this is just to get the ball rolling. I'm not going to roll for Libus at the moment, but he will interact with whatever you do. So I think on a 7, Drago, what do you do?
So heading around to the back of the shop, I think what I would do is, being the larger of the group, I would sort of attempt to basically try and lean against the wall in close to the door, enough to give potential cover with my shape and size, but also just keeping an eye on the alleyway so that Thorsten.
I mean, the alleyway that you are in is probably only about 2.5 foot wide, and there's another set of properties. Sort of, there's 2 back doors in effect, either side of here.
Then I'm just keeping out of the way, but keeping an eye out.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. There's no real passing trade. The only real danger of someone sort of spotting you is from the upper story windows, maybe looking down. Maybe if someone's going to throw out some. I mean, who knows? We'll see if we get a random encounter of some slot being thrown out. Then we move to, because we just go clockwise. Thorsten, what are you doing?
Thorsten is about to ply his trade and have a thorough examination of the back door to this establishment and make his way inside if all feels good.
Okay, you kind of look at it and it's surprisingly good. The kind of sort of makeup of this property kind of looks cheap and in a bad state of repair, but as you kind of look at the lock, you kind of go, that's a good lock. They've done that well. Of course, you're a thief. This is your bread and butter. There's not going to be even a roll needed for you, but good locks normally mean there's something to be protected. So this actually is quite a good sign. Did you want to open it now, or are you going to wait for Rozier to do Rozier things?
I'll wait for Rozier to for the time being. Let's see what happens.
So we move up to you, Rozier. What are you doing?
With Drago already providing cover for Thorsten, Rojar will be within like 5 to 10 feet of the other two, but some distance away from them, and he will be there to intercept anyone else trying to come near, like being very threateningly and making himself block the alleyway and like, you got no business here, get away, stuff like that.
Okay, so hanging out. Okay, so you've got this property scoped out and covered from all the corners. Drago, one assumes you're just doing the same thing, kind of looking sort of menacing.
Yeah, basically waiting for Thorsten to let us in.
This is the second cycle round, so Thorsten, are you going to try and do the door?
Yes. Unlock, check for traps through the door, and as quietly as possible make entrance, hoping to find an office.
So describe to me how you are checking for the traps. What are you particularly looking at in this type of door and the like?
With these tools in hand and the experience of my time of the guilds, it's hinges, any banding metal that might be hiding anything, and then the locking mechanism itself in that kind of order. Should it be necessary, find the correct combination of key and bit to rotate the tumblers if it is such a consideration in the lock itself, and then crack the door just that inch, make sure that there's no...
Before you do that, you do indeed find a trap upon the door. It's okay. This is what you do. You described it to me and you kind of look at it. It's not something that is serious. It's more of akin of a sort of an alarm mechanism rather than a trap. But fundamentally, if you were to unlock the door and open it, it's going to cause a small spark to happen. Once again, alchemists, and it would just make a flashbang. Probably not even cause you any damage, but certainly enough to notice that something has happened. You get the impression that this is put up there when he's working and it can easily be removed and sort of replaced again. Of course, you've spotted it, you can disarm it, but this is not a challenging thing for you, which you do, and then you can open the door. Perfect. Well done.
I will remember to replace that if possible as we leave.
It's going to be challenging for you to replace it from the other side of the door. That doesn't mean you can't, but for something like that, that is where we start doing a roll for you.
Understood. But we have made our way inside.
Yeah. So is it? Well, Thorsten, you sort of come in. It's a sort of dank, sort of small storeroom. You can see there's a flight of stairs going up. There are crates in here with alchemical supplies in. What's your background?
Literally Thieves Guild. So hoping I would recognise traditional valuables, even if not alchemical components being valuable.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in the office ledger records rather than the safe, as it were.
Yeah. So you don't think any kind of information is stored in this room, or you don't think probably in the shop either. So it must be upstairs. So you kind of look at the stairs to begin to move up. Rosia, what are you doing?
As soon as I see Thorsten move inside, I will walk over and carefully, very quietly step inside as well with my longsword in my hand, which is the smaller of the two, which I think is easier to wield in the confined space inside. Just as a precaution in case the goblin comes into the storeroom.
Perfect.
That's all I'm doing. I'm just being quiet. I'm not saying anything. It's just as soon as I will see Thorsten coming down the stairs, I will just step outside again.
Perfect. Drago.
Similar, I will go and I will step inside and sort of push the door to. So
Okay.
it's, if anybody is passing, I realise it's kind of a back alley that people aren't going to be in, but so that it looks closed. And in this space, if possible, I would like to position myself so that I am, if the door from the shop were to open, I'm kind of on the back side of it, so that if he were to come through, I would be out of sight and could potentially get behind him if need be.
Perfect. Okay. So this is going to be round 3 now. So just so you know, a couple of things happen. At the end of round 3, I'm going to roll for a random encounter. This could be anything that happens. It might not even be detrimental to what you're doing. It might not even happen. But as you start to make your way up the stairs, Thorsten, you move into the Shadowdark. Upstairs is not lit. So you've got a number of options here to kind of try and move around in the dark and maybe try and open up a shutter. You've done this at daytime, haven't you? Because he's working. So if you can open up a shutter, it will let daylight in, but you might be seen from the outside. Or you can obviously light your way, or you can fumble around in the Shadowdark. Your choice.
I don't like the sound of the last one. Given
would we have seen that was the case, that it was dark up there?
Yeah. I mean, you would know that it was dark up there. Absolutely.
Because
you want to have cast a light.
Well, I would offer to cast light on.
This is what it is, and the initiative is just to speed through rather than that. So you can easily.
Seeing it's dark, I would offer to cast light on an item of yours, so that you don't need to.
Perfect. Go for it. Give us a roll.
Let's see if it works.
You have you have these resources at your beck and call.
Yeah, it's a plus wisdom. It's +2, and I need 12.
That looks like a 17 to me.
Yep, 19 with my +2. So
perfect. Absolutely no problem. So you've got. I mean. Because of the way that I like Shadowdark, rather than just going, oh yeah, you've got light, I kind of want a cinematic of what you have light upon and how you're kind of always trying to obscure it and then let the light out. So what would you have had light cast upon?
One of my 2 daggers.
Perfect.
And therefore I could under armpit sheath kind of can be completely concealed even if daylight strength glow, and then I can allow my cloak to open proportionally as like a lantern window to give myself some level of control over what I light when.
I mean, there is that little bit of spooky kind of your sort of coat is lit up underneath, and there's a little bit
Yeah.
of illumination from it. Not enough, but it's that blur of light moving through the dark, and then you can literally flash. I mean, literally flash.
You want to buy a
Light.
light?
Not
You
quite
want to buy a
my
light?
intention, but I like it.
No, that's
But yes,
brilliant, and that really changes the situation because obviously, whilst there is the smell of chemicals here, it's an alchemist lab.
yes.
Lighting of a lantern or a torch might well have he might have noticed such a thing. So brilliant
Mhm.
play. You go upstairs, and upstairs you can see that the entire sort of shop floor and back room area of the downstairs is just a single room here.
Yep.
It's not overly complex. There is what appears to be some kind of bed sized for the alchemist.
Mhm.
To be honest, it's in a bit of a state. There's kind of unwashed clothes kind of scattered around. There's a dresser, but with the light that you've got, you do see that what would be at the front of the shop, where there is currently shuttered windows,
Yep.
there is what appears to be a desk, and there are a number of books and ledgers. There's a pot
Yeah.
of ink, and so this alchemist is obviously fairly learned. Certainly has been writing things, but it takes your turn to get up there, to move across there, take in your surroundings, and one assumes if you wanted to move towards that desk, that is where we
Yeah.
end your turn. And
Definitely.
one assumes, I do a lot of assuming here, but you're trying to be quiet. So
Oh, of course.
there's like and basically you can see this is old style floorboards, and you can see cracks between the floorboards, and you can see down to the shop floor below, and there's kind of alchemical smokes coming up through the floorboards, and it's kind of creaking, and I hope it doesn't hear. It's quite tense as you are literally above the person in the shop now. Roja, you are still in there with your longsword.
Yeah,
Doing
and
the same thing. Yeah. There is quite a lot of this, but it's important that we sort of do this process. Okay, then, just before you go, Drago, we are rolling a d6. If we have a 1, which we don't, there is no random encounter coming up. So we're going to do another 3 rounds until either it's the Shadowdark or the danger level changes. We only roll every 3 turns. If it's moderate danger, it's 2 turns. If it's immediate danger, it's 1 turn that we just keep rolling d6 till something happens. So you're on kind of a little bit of a clock. Drago, what are you doing?
Just holding my ground.
Yeah.
I would be just casting eyes about at the general contents to see if anything is, if there are, if anything's like clearly labeled, and if any of those labels are clearly interesting. Things like gunpowder or
You seem to
pepper,
be fixated
or
on
it's
gunpowder.
just it's just an idea. But like, if there was anything that was like pepper as well, that would be something that I might be interested in. So yeah, it's just kind of, if there's anything that might catch my eye that is potentially grabbable. But the main focus is listening out and being ready to
Okay, so what I'm
honk him on
just
the
doing,
head if I need.
I know we don't overly need a timer for your light spell, but I'm just setting one,
Mhm.
mainly
Sure.
because this is sort of a single encounter that you're going
Mhm.
to leave, and it's daytime, so you know. But we've put it on just in case because your light
Sure.
spell will last for an hour, real time.
Yeah.
What is your background, Drago?
I am orphaned.
Orphaned. Yeah, orphans know an awful lot about alchemy. So you kind of look around, and this is outside of your shtick, as it were. But it doesn't mean that you can't do this, as we were discussing earlier. It's not what's so much on your character sheet, it's about what you think you want to try and do. And you're in an alchemist shop, in their storeroom, there's strange stuff that you might be able to find useful. You don't have appropriate skills for it, so we make a roll instead. I would argue intelligence to understand the nature of these things. There's not particularly, if it was labelled, I would say it was automatic, but these things are not labelled.
Yeah.
So give us an intelligence roll, please.
Okie dokie. Add my 2. So, 8. 6 plus 2 is 8.
Okay.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, at the moment, there's quite a lot of crates, so it's not like I'm going to say, well, that's it, you don't know. But you start looking at one lot, and I don't know. It's almost like this could be pepper or it could be gunpowder. I'm not sure whether I should breathe it in or set it
Yeah,
alight.
Yeah, no, I will say that I'm not taking undue risks with
Yeah.
this. It was more a case of, that obviously looks like a thing that might be, a
Yeah,
handful of it might come in handy. It's
yeah.
that sort of a vibe
I
rather
know,
than a.
which is great, and I'm very pleased that you're doing it. And you can carry on doing that for as long as you want. Thorsten, we come to you. You are at the desk now, and there are a couple of drawers, and there's ledgers, bits of paper, and it's a little bit different. The state of the room is terrible, dirty clothes scattered everywhere, but this seems to be relatively organised. It shows a sort of strange sort of mindset. What would you like to try and do?
I'm looking for records of the last month, 2 months,
Okay.
deliveries, transactions, specifically that might mention the tower, Samut Mamu, trying to find, as we sort of like set out here, what is he getting delivered, and does that help me understand whom or what he might be,
Okay.
and
That
can we
sounds
then make
good.
conclusions from that?
Yeah. Okay. There's nothing obvious upon the desk. You kind of start looking around. There's a lot of information, and you begin to rapidly begin to look through it. It's going to take a degree of time,
Mhm.
but you do notice that there are 2 desk drawers as well, and you
Yeah.
can't help but think that anything of particular importance might be secured away there as well. Um,
Would definitely thoroughly investigate, to borrow the phrase.
okay, I'm more than happy for you to do the papers on the desk, the journals around, and the desk drawers in the same one. And yeah, both of them are locked, but they don't appear to be trapped. It's a good thing. Uh, in many ways, he obviously doesn't want these to be destroyed, so he's been very careful about these. But you are going to have to start working on. There's a top drawer and a bottom drawer that you would unlock, and it's going to take you a turn each. Which one would you like to do first?
Top one first, please.
Okay. Can you roll me a d6, please? Okay.
F5.
Yeah. Okay. So you manage to open it, you pull it out, and there are some sort of papers in there, which you can look at next turn or try and open up the second drawer first. Roger, you're standing there. It's been very quiet up there. Nothing has happened. You start seeing Drago kind of looking in some of these crates at various of these either liquids or powders.
I have pre-pasted a menacing scowl on my face while facing the door into the shop. And
Okay.
that's all I'm doing.
You are practicing your grimace. Very nice. I like it. And move to Drago.
I'm going to hold my position and if there's any point to having continuing
Yeah,
the
you can do.
look
You just
around, I'm
didn't
not.
find anything or understand what you find. There's plenty of things to look at here.
Then I will have another explore if I can,
Mhm.
or kind of just idle while I'm waiting, while I'm listening.
That is much better.
21.
Yeah, very nice. So as you sort of moving around, at first you're kind of moving things, and you find something. I mean, this looks interesting as you sort of pick it up, and it's milk of the lily. You sort of recognise it. It's a very strong sedative that is normally given to people that are about to undergo to, like Roja, have their leg amputated. It knocks people out. It doesn't so much remove the pain; it's just that you're oblivious to it. Um, it's only a small bottle, but it's full. Um, might be useful, but also might be worth trying to sell. You know, and you've kind of identified it as that, so you know it has that purpose.
Okay. Then, if it's small enough to pocket, I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
pocket.
it's literally a few inches. It's quite powerful stuff.
Mm.
I will. I will put that in my pocket and feel quietly pleased with my findings.
Well done for spotting it. Now we move to you, Thorsten.
Um,
So you
takes a moment to understand the papers that he has found in the top drawer.
okay? So you want to look at those? Very good. That was what the roll was for. It looks like you've hit the payload here. It's not just about his transactions. It seems that this Libus is also very worried and concerned about dealing with such an individual of Thut Memmu, and he himself has been doing research into who he is and what is he about, um, both in terms of potentially him being able to send someone to deal with him should either the business deals go sour. So it's quite extensive. You're not going to be able to take in all of the information. Well, it's going to take you time to take in all of the
Yeah,
information, which you can do here, but it is a hazardous place.
yeah,
There's no indication that he was prepared to act upon this. It's just this is his lump of kryptonite in
yep,
case Superman turns bad.
yep.
To give it that. This is his. Uh, if things turn bad, I can act against him before hopefully he acts against me.
The insurance policy
Yeah, yeah.
thereof.
But it's going to take a while for you to digest all of that information.
I think I'd rather pocket it and do that elsewhere.
It makes perfect sense. So you spent your turn kind of realizing what
Yeah.
you've got there. You can't do anything else, but you can make a move, but you might want to see if there's anything else here. What would you prefer to do?
Yeah, Thorsten hasn't quite finished his exploration of the desk, the room, and potential side value is
Okay,
to be attempted next turn.
perfect. Then we move to Roger again. Can we see your grimace? What does it look like?
I
And a
don't act,
smile.
Andy. I don't act.
That's okay. I like that. Roger is really a softie. You've got a magnificent moustache, haven't you? And you're a minstrel.
It's a Van Dyke beard
Van
and
Dyke beard.
goatee stuff,
Yeah.
yeah.
You look
Mustache, yeah.
resplendid, trying to look menacing, but you can't help
He,
yourself.
he occasionally sort of goes with
Yeah.
what you bearded men do all the time. You always touch your mustache or your beard, so he's doing the same.
Perfect.
It always gets in the way.
Then we move to you, Drago.
I'm not going to push my luck. I'm just
Yeah, you're happy with that. You're just making sure
just
the back alley is clear.
back alley's clear, and I'm armed or ready for when or if our unknowing host comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am. I'm going to use the random encounter. So you've basically got a clock to work to before something might happen. So we move back to you, Thorsten. What are you going to do next?
Opens the second drawer
Mhm.
and is obviously taking all due care and attention for traps and locking mechanisms, but is hoping for a little profit on the side to go along with his findings.
Okay, so you do that, and for this one, I would like you to roll a D. You unlock it.
Oh yeah.
Don't find any. Again, if you a little bit under pressure, but you haven't got monsters breathing down your throat, so you're okay. So this is yeah, roll a D100, please,
Oh,
and we will see. So is that a
64.
64? So I'm going to use a Shadowdark table here. So 64. Boom, boom, boom. You basically see that he's got what appears to be um, a couple, maybe four different dice sets in the bottom drawer. They are finely made of ivory, and your experience of thieves guilds background, you reckon they're probably worth a total 25 gold pieces.
Um, Solston takes the complete set,
Yeah, yeah,
if he may.
yeah. I mean, well done. You have located some things.
Ivory dice sets,
Yeah,
25 GP worth.
yeah. I
We'll
mean,
check for their balance to see if they're true at a later date.
yeah. I was gonna say, do you want to roll them maybe on the floor of here, just to?
I might pass on that.
Okay, I can't tempt you. Perfect. Okay.
And then
And
makes
you've got a move as well, so you can
yeah.
start making your way down. Roja, you scour, but this is next turn. I don't know whether it is or not, but I'm going to roll a random roll. It's
It's
close.
It's
about
at the
time.
end
It's
of
close
Rose's
enough. You've
turn
been
first.
doing some things. Oh, that is a one. That is a one. Everybody hold up. I love this. Love this. I now need to get another D6 on there. I think I'll just click that again. All right, that's right. That's what I do. 5. Okay. Um, so what you basically hear, all of you, is from the front. Basically, the sounds of sort of the sort of most definitely Libus, and he suddenly starts going, "Ah, no, 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 no," and then there is this massive explosion. Uh, you hear the cracking of glass, the splintering of wood. Uh, Roja, the door doesn't blow off, but with the force of the concussion, kind of swings open, and you can see that there is a devastation of quite a large magnitude in there. You see that Libus is lying down. You're not sure whether he's dead or alive. There is nothing left in this the front of this store at all. Thorsten, a number of the floorboards below have kind of the nails ping out, and there is a concussion explosion. There's no need for dexterity rolls to because you weren't in the central room. You just moved away, Thorsten. You might have got
Mhm.
caught. It is up to you. You are aware that such a big noise will garner attentions to this property now. We are still in initiatives. Drago, what do you want to do?
I would like to kind of. Has the door swung back closed, or is it?
Yeah,
sort of
I mean,
hanging
to be
open?
honest, the room is full of kind of smoke at the moment. You don't need to worry about anybody immediately sort of catching view of you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say as quietly as possible to Roger. I think we go.
Definitely.
Okay. Get him if you can. And sort of gesturing upstairs.
Mhm.
I'm going to just peer around the door, like conscious that there's going to be smoke and stuff. I'd like to try and see if I can tell whether our whether the alchemist has killed himself or just knocked himself out. I'm not going to
Okay.
go in there. I just want to try and see if he looks like he might be coming round in a minute, or whether we've got time.
You think he's dying. You don't think he's dead, but you think he's dying. But as you
Right.
sort of peer around, you can see that people in the alleyway are beginning to sort of turn, beginning to look at this property. Um, you can hear the sort of the windows of the alley, potentially the shutters are being opened to sort of see what on earth is happening. It's not immediate, but yeah, you will be recognised if you don't get out of here.
Yeah. Okay. So then,
Um,
seeing that, I'd like to try and mimic the door naturally swinging shut, shutting the door.
yeah, okay. It's in a
um,
bad state, but you can push that
yeah,
door closed.
obscure it just to give us our exit a bit of a block, and then I'm basically going to go and stand by the door ready to leave.
Perfect. Thorsten, what are you doing?
Is coming down the stairwell saying, wasn't me, wasn't me, wasn't me, and then makes for the back door.
Okay. Roja?
I see Thorsten coming down. Draco's already standing by the back door. So I will open the back door and motion the other two outside. Tell them to go to the left and don't run.
Yeah, perfect. So,
And then I put my sword away and I will follow them out.
yeah, Ibaihori is not a lawful place. It's, you're not going to have the city guard or militia on your back, but sometimes worse, being marked at the scene of some kind of would maybe, who knows what friends or enemies this alchemist. It is best just to remain unseen and anonymous, and a very sensible thing to do. The best way to stay alive in times undreamed of is to not be noticed. So you make a quick getaway, moving down the alley further and then emerging on the streets as there's a degree of interest of what on earth has happened. You fade into the crowds, a clean getaway. Excellent. You sound like you're about to say something, Draco.
I'm slightly concerned that he might be dying, and I am.
You can run back
I'm
and try and
well. I
hear
mean,
him.
if we're passing, if we're kind of just with the sort of swanning along with the crowd, I would try and keep an eye out and see if there looks like somebody, if people have gone in to help him.
People are robbing the place.
Great. Okay. I am going to turn to my two friends and just say, sorry, and I'm going to run in, and I'm going to.
Before you go, I have a suggestion, and I say, as you tend to them, make sure there are people around you and ask him what happened. So if before he expires, that he can explain that there was no one else there.
Okay. run. So yeah, I will
Okay.
dash in and
Well,
just kind of what
you,
happened and
you've
try and
taken a few turns, so um, he has basically a D4 plus his con modifier in terms of rounds before. So I'm going to roll a D4, see whether you can get to him in time. You've fallen. Lucky again. That's a 4. I'm not going to say what his con modifier is, but when you get to him, he is still able to be saved. Basically, now he's in a very bad state. You push your way through the crowds. The crowds are in the back room now, kind of emptying crates and everything else. There doesn't seem to be anyone other than yourself, of any sort of moral compass here. But they're not going to interfere with what you're trying to do. So one assumes that you're going to try and use your divine magics to cast
yes,
Cure Wounds.
I am going to attempt to cast Cure Wounds.
Well, let us see whether your deity agrees with you. Which deity is it, by the way?
Ord, who
Ord.
is
Yeah.
the god of mysteries and secrets, I believe,
Yeah.
is why. So, okay, here we go. Letting it to hit the roll button.
Oh, very nice.
Okay, yeah, so 14 plus 2 for 16 total.
Okay, very nice. And yeah, he sort of coughs, spits. Again, terribly sort of burnt, and sort of looks up at you. And then starts looking around. He's sort of starts swearing at all the people that are in his shop. They, now realizing he is alive, suddenly begin to sort of dissipate. And he kind of looks at you and says,
My friend, I was passing. What happened?
"Oh, strange. Too much. Too much. Sometimes you have to take things a little slower. I got ahead of myself.
You did this to yourself?
Yes. Not
Oh,
by
well,
choice.
I assume. Well, I'm glad I was passing by.
I I guess I owe you. Yes. Maybe.
uh,
So no, I mean, okay, yes, I agree. Fair enough. Generous.
well,
But
no.
if we ever meet again, we will meet again. Huh?
Indeed, if we meet again, we will meet. And just, I hope you are able to avoid such incidents in the future.
No, this is the 5th time.
Ah, well,
He kind of looks at all of the burns down one side of him.
ah, um,
Um,
well, at least I was here this time, I suppose.
yes, it was by far the biggest this time. Biggest.
Will you be okay if I should rejoin my friends?
Sorry, my
Will you be
hearing
okay?
is a little.
Will you be okay
Hmm,
if I leave now?
yes, I'm quite hungry. Thank you.
Okay, I good. And I'm just gonna awkwardly
Yeah,
leave.
and he's kind of shooing people out as well. But you did your duties, which is nice, and I'm going to return a luck point to you for that because it put
Thank
you in undue dangers.
hmm
It could have used a resource up that you might not have got back. And
you.
you did it because it's what your character would have done as opposed to any kind of real advantage. Although there can be advantages gained by such things. Uh, I mean, because there was a crowd of people in there, he's not going to necessarily associate you with the theft upstairs or in the back. All of that is now nicely covered by the fact that lots of people came in. Okay, so with that, you move away with the crowd and find a place to study the information that you have uncovered so far. And I think that is the perfect time to take a quick break, if that is okay with everybody.
Works for me.
Perfect. So we will be back in 5 minutes or so. We're just going to grab quick drinks and everything. So please stay tuned. If you're watching on catch up, which you will because this is a pre-record, so no one's watching it live, but I kind of feel I should say that. If you just fast forward it on, 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then you'll see part 2 of this Times Undreamed of. And bye for now. Hello, everybody, and we are back. Thank you very much. We are rehydrated and ready to go. So, where we left off, the life of Libus, the alchemist, has just been saved by Drago. Information uncovered to ensure the protections of Libus should this Tallow man act against him. You slip away into the crowds. It's still sort of daytime, unnoticed, and very cleverly, I say cleverly, it had absolutely nothing to do with you. It was a random encounter of him mixing the two wrong chemicals together, covered up your burglary. You also uncovered some milk of the lily, which might or might not be useful too. So it is up to you. Where would you next head to? One assumes you want to try and analyze the information that you have got before you proceed further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's finding a quiet tavern or rooms, or just a quiet space where we can be relatively undisturbed
You've
to talk and read.
started making friends now, and there's a few derelict places in the wet that you know are safe, that you can hole up into, digest what you have found, and it is interesting reading. It seems that the Tallow man has been dealing with Libus for about 10 years now. And at first, it was purely sort of financial by the looks of it. And you can almost tell in the footnotes the amount the Tallow man was paying far above the odds secured the services of Libus. But as their relationship developed, one couldn't really say flourish, Libus started getting unnerved by it. Um, there are footnotes about strange happenings within Ibihor, murders. Murders to a penny, but the descriptions of these ones are somewhat different, all seeming to link to the Tallow man, or rather an agent of the Tallow man, someone that he calls a Karasiri. You begin to look at these footnotes, and he does research into Karasiri as well. These are ancient creatures, terrible, really. They have the outward appearance of sort of pale humanoids of different ancestries, but they can transform their maw into a lamprey-like mouth, and they use that to attach onto their victims, and with that they draw out all of the fats from the body, leaving a skeletal figure with a bag of skin about them. And it seems that not the Tallow man, but the company keeps is with one of these Karasiri. More research into it seems to indicate that he has purchased a large amount of embalming fluids and apparatus through Libus over the years, and Libus carefully has pieced much of the puzzles together that this Tallow man must be some kind of sympathetic mage of sorts. Sounds delightful, really, till you realise what this means. It means casting his sorceries through effigies of other things, dolls, quite possibly made of wax wrought from humanoid flesh, moulded. But it goes beyond this. There's been abductions as well. Individuals dragged from the streets of Ibaihori. To what purpose can only be guessed, but Libus has guessed. It couldn't be just for the gathering of these fat. He has this Karasiri to do that for him. This is for something else, and looking at the substances that have been ordered and the equipment and gear, he seems to be making waxworks of sorts of the abducted, to embalm them, to preserve them, to keep them safe, keep them young, keep them beautiful. It seems very much the Tallow man lives up to his name.
Everything is a candle.
I don't like any of this.
I'd like to see a copy of this or the original documents make their way to Vigita and the Red Masks.
Yeah, you're certainly doing your business. Of course, there is one critical piece of information. I mentioned he wanted a piece of assurance, perhaps the Achilles heel of this Tallow man, and it is in the final pages of this document. He has perhaps proposed why this individual is long-lived. For sympathetic magics can work both ways. Effigies of an enemy that you can inflict damage, pain and death upon. But also it is possible to link one's presence, health, life, vitality to an effigy, so that if you were to take harm, it would be transferred upon to the effigy instead. Of course, you wouldn't age because your vitality is stored within the effigy itself. Maybe this is the reason why he is long-lived, unable to be harmed. Of course, a different matter if you could locate that effigy, destroy it.
Okay.
That is the final piece of the document.
Okay.
So
We
we
don't
need
need to find him. We need to find a waxwork model of him and chop it into lots of small pieces. And he keeps very unpleasant and dangerous company by the sounds of things.
It might be that this creature is what we might expect to find in the gardens.
Possibly.
There was talk of one of his, or a number of his men releasing things to the gardens.
Maybe.
Yeah, but that was Beast, though. That was a Beastmaster.
Yes, that is the phrase I was looking for. Thank you.
So GM, your description there said one of his close associates is a Karasiri. Like one of the people that the Tallow man keeps close at all times is the impression that gave me. Is that the right?
From the information, this is unlike the guards that he has muted, that are there to serve a purpose, the descriptions are incredibly sickening. The Karasiri drain the fat with this lamprey-like mouth, slurping it up. But of course, that fat can be regurgitated, vomited up for him to use in his profane
Mhm.
rituals.
Very nice. I'm not a fan. Okay. Right.
Of course, with the information you have as well upon his assault of the Red Mask's den, he's also a very capable sorcerer. So he has, beyond this immortality, this invulnerability to harm, he's also a very powerful dabbler in the diabolic.
So if we can, well, it depends where. If we need to find an effigy of him and just hope it's not in the same place as he is, which seems far too good to be true. But you never know.
But without this information, you would have been
Yeah.
perhaps trying to kill someone who was unkillable. It would have easily led to, well, your deaths or perhaps something even worse. Roger, you've got a pretty face. You might have been made into one of these waxworks. The other two of you, Thorsten and Drago, probably just drained for your fat.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of it on me either, so it'd be unfun.
Right.
So, yeah, is it a case that we can find the effigy and destroy that first? And then at least we put him at risk, and he then has to understand. I'm not suggesting he'll ever be negotiable with, but it puts him in a different position.
Well, I think that's our objective. So our objective is to find the effigy, and then and as a side note, find the jewel as well. Otherwise, we're going to be owing hundreds of gold that we don't have.
That interest, every heartbeat, you can almost now feel it. Every beat of your heart, there is more money being owed to the toad.
Lovely. Okay.
You can't collect from the dead, so
Well, there are rumours that the toad seems to be able to do that as well, but again, it's only rumours. You don't need to worry about it.
Okay.
So, I mean, it
Yeah,
is
I
your
guess.
call. It takes you a while, so we can easily say time has passed. It is
Mhm.
now sort of dusk. The perfect, excuse me, a perfect time to get yourselves ready and in positions. Should you wish to do this,
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's anything else we need to acquire. Whereas,
I would like to get a crowbar before we go anywhere.
okay, the crowbar will cost you the standard gold price and have the standard gear slot.
Yep.
That is absolutely fine.
I am. Yeah. No, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 4 available gear slots. If although that depends if we have to count the gear that we're bringing, so the stuff that we need to scale the walls and climb over the spikes
No,
and
so
gas
so
loops.
so you haven't been given anything to climb the wall with. You can either try and climb it or use your grapples for that. There's no specialist equipment. It was described as quite knobbly and candle-like. So if you kind of imagine Conan-esque, you should be able to scale this relatively easily.
But what we were given was the bit for the
The bit to
spikes
get
at the top.
over the spikes, which one presumes is you're carrying it currently, but you're going to kind of almost abandon it to get in and then use it to get out again. And then the only other things was the masks that
Yeah.
are going to protect you, which technically count as clothing, so I'm not going to charge you gear slots for those. Perfect.
Most of it.
Wow.
It's, I mean, we might be dead in the next half an hour, so it's. But either way,
Anything can happen. I mean, there's been quite
Yeah.
a few crews that have attempted this theft of the jewel.
Yeah, but so says somebody who is not inherently trustworthy. But there you go. I assume my Milk of the Lily effectively takes up a slot as well.
It does indeed.
Cool.
I
I've
mean,
written it down. Double check.
So, just to clarify, you are going to scale the walls of this down into the gardens. It's dark now. You're going to have a light source, without a doubt. But with the foliage kind of rising above you, you don't think it's necessarily directly going to give you away to anybody perceiving. Of course, you don't have to have a light source, but if you do want to make your way through these overgrown gardens in the dark,
Thank you.
I'm more than happy for you to do that or attempt to do that.
I would like just through the day. Before we go, I would like to try and get to like a bit of wood that's like 7 inches long,
Mhm.
and attach another bit of wood to it, or a chunk of metal or something. Basically, what I want to try and make is effectively what will it become a torch, because I will cast light on one of the bits of wood, the small bit of wood that's attached to the bigger bit of wood, so I can hold it, but also point it. And
Okay.
if my light spell works, is basically what I'm trying to.
You get a bit of wood that you can cast light upon it. Absolutely.
Great, lovely.
It will cost you 1 gear slot. The torches cost you gear slots, basically.
Yeah. In fact, no. In fact, ignore that. I've got the broken sword blade dagger that I acquired in the den.
Yeah.
I'll cast it on that
Do
instead.
it on that instead. That is absolutely
that.
fine.
Cool.
So you throw up. You've got the appropriate equipment to get over the wall. No rolls needed. I'm assuming. Has anybody got any rope or?
Yes.
Yeah, we all have the starter kit as far as I know.
Yeah,
So
and that
each of us
includes
carries rope.
that includes a grappling hook as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so you've got the appropriate equipment. So this is a tried and tested method now. The first crew failed. It got improved, and the other crews managed to at least get into the garden. So you get over the wall, and he wasn't lying. These are razor sharp sort of spikes, and without this, it would have been bad. None of you need to make a roll to see if you take any kind of injury. You drop down into the gardens. It's dark now. This is so overgrown. The darkness itself is problematic, but also just line of sight, as there is just foliage upon foliage, and it's a tangle of different types of plant. All look unsavory. There are sort of large kind of sort of fronds that seem to be razor sharp. There are spiked kind of brambles. There are strange, almost dandelion-esque kind of things that various kind of things are floating from.
Roger would like to use his greatsword as a machete to slowly, carefully, and as silently as possible make our way.
Okay, I mean, I'm not quite sure whether the word greatsword and slowly and carefully kind of do it. But one assumes you're kind of using it like this and prying it rather than just hacking your way through it, because that will cause noise and perhaps get you noticed.
Yeah, it's basically like pushing things out of the way
Yeah.
more than cutting
Yeah,
things out of the
I
way.
mean, a great sword is quite good because it's kind of almost as long as a sort of stave, so
Right.
you've got a lot of length with it, so that's perfectly sort of sensible. You can obviously see now you're in the gardens, kind of looking above the foliage, this sort of horrible black tower, and you can see that there is things leaking out of it. Down it's still almost constant. There are drier and harder parts as well, and then there is this smoke coming out of the top that seems to be just constantly smoking. Okay.
I assume that since I'm doing the clearing the way stuff, I determine the path as well. I think before we would go over the wall, we would have guessed from where we got in and the position of the tower that we would have a idea of the path that we're going to take.
Makes perfect sense to me. So we'll do initiatives, but we'll say we'll just start with you, Rosia, and we'll just work around this way as you are leading it.
Should I cast light, my spell for light first?
Well,
Are we in a position where we need it yet? Sorry.
yeah. I mean, absolutely. Unless you want to make your way forward in the dark, you would need light now.
I will cast the spell. Everybody cross things.
Okay, they didn't cross enough. I believe that is a 2.
Yep.
It's not quite a 1. I would remind you that you do have 2 luck points, though.
I do have 2 luck points. I am going to spend one of them to see if I can re-roll that.
Perfect.
To re-roll that and see if I can.
Each of Thorsten and Roger that have 1 each as well. Is that right? So.
Oh, that is another 2.
Same damn roll.
Basically, Roger and Thorsten have 1 luck point each.
Yeah,
Drago.
you can use mine.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, okay.
You can just cut to torches if you want. And you're burning these luck points. It's up to you.
One last attempt, or do you want to just use a torch?
I think a torch would draw too much attention at this point.
I would be inclined to agree.
Yeah, the light would be the way you described it as casting it on your broken sword thing, is that you can keep it low and point it at the ground instead of just the torch being near our heads and visible from the entire garden.
Yeah, that was my logic.
Okay, so this means Drago has 1 luck point, Thorsten has 1 luck point, and Roger has spent their luck point. Okay, nice. So 13 on the dice, I believe.
Yeah, so modifier. +2 for a 15.
Yeah, you just needed that. 11, first level spell. You try. Give me a cinematic of why it didn't work twice. I mean, it might again. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but with cinematics, it might not be you. It could be the fact you've just entered this blasphemous place, and the evil of it is preventing the. So you've got full agency here to describe rather than going, no, I'm just a rubbish cleric.
No, I think what happened is I had this idea with these 2 pieces of wood, and I tried to make it work. And I think what happened is I tried to cast it the first time on this. It's kind of this crudely fashioned little bit of wood with a little bit of wood on the front, and I tried to cast it on the little bit of wood at the front. And the first time it hit the nail, which was embedded in the wood, so no light was escaping. So I kind of just, and then the second time I tried it again, and it was starting to glow. The wrong bit of wood was starting to glow. So in the end, I just kind of and throw it over my shoulder and chuck it away, and pulled the dagger out.
Yeah,
and cast
just
it on the blade. So it's much more, and just kind of run hand along the bit of blade, and the blade starts to glow with divine light.
Very nice. Okay, and you've got that in one hand. Roger, you are leading the way. So this is round one, and every 3 rounds, unless we get into dangerous territory, we'll be rolling for random encounters. So a degree of speed is perhaps important, or maybe not.
Instead of making a direct line towards the tower, I suggested before we climbed over the wall that we would take a bit of a circuitous route and stay within some distance of the wall, that in case we do need to make a quick getaway, getting sliced by the spikes is probably a better idea than being dragged into the tower to whatever bad fate we have.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's being a bit close to the wall, not too close. There's still foliage between us and the wall, and just making a half circle towards the tower and approaching it from the side.
Perfect. You use your sword to move things aside. Perfect. Drago, I mean,
Just
you are kind of rallying at the moment, but if there's specifics that you want to add to that, you can sort of add to it.
no, I think just keeping close enough to give light and sort of cast light, but also keeping out of the way so that I'm not like causing problems in forging a path ahead, and just keeping an eye out for anything and everything that's kind
Okay.
of around the edges. Yeah, so just
Yeah. As I say, both terms of line of sight and sort of the darkness is making it very awkward. Plus, you don't really want to be seen, so you're kind of trying to move very, very carefully. Same with you, Thorsten.
Thorsten, somewhat out of his element here in the wilds of this overgrown garden, prefers urban jobs, doing his best to keep light on his feet, keep the opportunity for working around the garden rather than through it in mind. And also, obviously, we're very aware that there are likely to be this black lotus flower plant to call out and avoid any of that should we encounter any.
Yeah.
I mean, stop.
So have you put your
yes,
masks upon?
Yep.
mask was on before I went over the wall.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. You carry on, Roger, making your way round. It's a slow process, hugging the walls and moving around. And as far as I'm aware, you're kind of trying to get right around the walls till you get to the tower itself, rather than cutting through the gardens. Is that right? Or are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is.
Yeah, we're about like 10, 15, maybe 20 feet out of the wall in towards the inner side of the garden. But instead of going straight for the tower, we're following the wall for as long as we can before having to go to the tower.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to move things along. There's pros and cons to this tactic. The good news is you're not cutting directly through the undergrowth, causing who knows what kind of mayhem and getting barbs or spikes or fronds ripping at you. The downside really is it's just going to take longer to do as you cautiously do it. So it's going to take 3 rolls of the random encounters till you get to the tower, taking it this way. So I'm not gonna just keep going around and going, what you're doing, what you're doing, what you're doing. I'm just gonna roll it 3 times. So the first one that we get, nothing happens. The second one, 2 6s, and then the final one, no. So being very, very cautious, you begin to sort of move round, and there's a final bit where you have to cut into the garden, but you are more or less at the base of this hideous tower now. And as you get this close, it's the smell that is the worst. The build-up of this grease, this oil, this fat, especially having read the information. Some of this could well be the remnants of regurgitated humanoid fats that have passed through a carossery itself. And it is just streaming down the walls of this tower. At this point, I would like all of you to just roll a d20, please. I'm going to ask you the numbers that we've got. Or somebody's got a 20.
Yeah.
So, Roja, what did you get?
9.
Okay. Drago, what did you get?
Nat 20.
Okay. And Thorsten?
6.
6. Okay. So, you begin to realize that you are not alone in these gardens. There is a hideous sound within the undergrowth and making its way through. No chance encounter. You were told there were beasts in here, and as you got closer to the tower, this beast seems to have picked up your scent. You can't see it yet, but it's large, and within the darkness you can see two sort of glowing eyes, not low down, but high up, maybe 6-7 feet in the air. But this thing is hunched down and moving, tremendous weight beginning to part all of the branches. Then you see it partially ape, partially man, winged, loping, sniffing, these fangs open on its maw. And then it half lumbers, half leaps, half flies, which we know is an impossibility because 3 halves most definitely don't make a whole. But this makes no sense at all. This creature, primordial, maybe even summoned from the very depths of the abyss itself, is upon you. Can we roll initiatives, please?
No, I don't want to.
10 for me.
Okay, so Roja, what did you get?
11.
And what did you get, Drago?
10.
10, Drago. And what did you get, Thorsten?
16.
Lovely, 16. Good old Thorsten.
Uh,
I'm going to roll for it. Boom, boom, boom. A D20. It gets +4 to this. Good news is it only rolled a 3. So it is going last. I mean, this is just some kind of unspeakable horror that is coming towards you. What would you like to do, Thorsten?
Run away? No, in seriousness, I guess this thing clearly hostile, charging towards us. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's on you. You can almost see that Roja and Drago are almost paralyzed with fear. You acting first.
Yeah. I think I'd attempt to not intercept it, but as it's charging towards the party, sidestep it, and then tentatively strike at it with my dagger as it attempts to go past me, and I try and dive into the shadows.
Um, I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to do here. I mean, it seems to be coming for sort of the group. There's lots of undergrowth. So you,
I'll avoid attacking it and try and get, to borrow another game's term, hidden.
okay. I mean, this is dangerous in itself because
Yeah.
this thing, as I say, is tall. It's kind of lumbering. It's kind of breaking down the undergrowth, mashing it. You can try and get hidden, but this
Yep.
is you going to run headlong, your total move into the undergrowth, trying to put foliage between you and it.
Yep. Whilst leaving it to focus on the bigger members of the group.
Yeah. Okay. So you run headlong into the gardens. I want you to roll me. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to say dexterity. This isn't to hide. This is to stop you ripping yourself apart on the
Yep.
other horrible things in the garden.
Yeah, definitely moving at pace.
Yeah.
A 14.
Okay, 14. Um, Superficial damage. I'm not going to take hit points from you, but it's not nice as you run through and things slash at you. It's almost like the dead are rising from the ground as they grab at your legs, and you realize it's just brambles as you run headlong into these gardens, not even sure of what direction you're going. You're just hoping to put distance, but also foliage between you and it. And hopefully the two that are standing there almost paralyzed with fear will draw its attentions, allowing you to perhaps eventually circumnavigate round. Rojar.
Swings his great sword at the massive beast's
Yeah.
neck.
You might as well go down fighting. Makes sense. You move forward. Give me an attack roll, please. So in transparency, you're going to need a 15 or higher to penetrate the hideous thick hide. Lovely. 18 plus whatever. What's your modifier to hit?
+5.
Okay, and let us see how great your greatsword is.
That would need to be a d12.
Very nice.
And that comes with a +2, so 13 points of damage.
Lovely. Your sword lops at it, cleaving its head right off. The head spins round, lands into the ground, its eyes still opening. But this thing that manifests on this plane of existence in this shape, in this form, doesn't really need a head. It just needs to be. And it is still there, lumbering, the head still alive, the eyes still staring at you, blinking. That is your go, Roja, unless you want to move.
I will make a sort of try and sidestep if the body still comes at me.
Oh, it's still coming at you. I mean, you're right next to it.
No, I will stand my ground because I don't want it to attack any of the others. So I will make a sort of like taunting, like come at me, but I won't speak. I will try and make it as silent as possible.
Okay. Well, I mean, this thing is making noise, but you can stay quiet. Drago.
Does the head look like it's capable of doing things?
I mean, as much
You
as a
said the eyes are
severed head.
blinking,
Yeah.
but is it, is it rolling, or does it look like is it going to go the thing and have legs started to appear
I
out of its
mean,
neck stump and stuff
yeah, I
like
mean, why not? You begin to see sort of
Just giving you
strange
ideas.
twisting of flesh as it needs to be able to move around and is unable to at the moment. So we'll say a couple of legs begin to
Great.
sort of sprout from it.
Okay. That being the case, and because I have my broken sword dagger with light cast upon it in my hand, I'm going to try and stab it in the eye,
Okay. Yeah.
hoping that even if I don't manage to hit it, the light in its eye will at least put it off guard or give it, inhibit its sight a little bit. He said, hopefully.
So it's still a 15 to hit.
And is it plus strength?
Yeah, to
Yes.
hit. Yeah.
Sorry, still getting used to modifiers and things. So that's a -1. Great. Okay.
Oh, that
That's
is
a
a
natural
critical
20,
hit. Uh,
-1 for a
no,
19.
no,
But
a
what's that?
critical hit is a critical hit. You are against all of the very odds, dealing.
Okay. And is it I rolled twice as many dice, is that right?
Yep.
Thank you. Don't know. That's a 2d4.
Oh,
Double fours. So
my
8
tail.
points. No, 8 points plus 1 because I am mighty, so 9 points of damage.
I mean, yeah, you kind of stab it. Two things happen immediately. First, it lets out this howl. I mean, one would imagine that a sort of like this ape type creature, it would be booming, but instead it is high pitched like nails down a chalkboard, completely inappropriate and rung for such a thing. The second thing is the legs twitch as the head goes still, as you, but it is still the body that exists, and the body takes its first swipe at you, Roja. I did say first swipe. It does have +5 to this, so whatever I roll here.
Yeah, don't worry, it's going to hit.
Yeah, indeed. So it swipes at you, possibly splatting you against the tower wall. I mean, you've got a fair amount of hit points, so
Yep, I do.
you might
I will. At least I had.
you might survive this, but
Oof.
that's 13 points of damage.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, as this thing just smashes you against the wall. Are you still up with that?
Barely, but yes.
Okay. And then it takes a second swipe, this time using you as a weapon against Drago, as it just grabs you and slams you down onto Drago. Again, seemingly not needing a head to attack. All this time, Thorsten, you can just see this playing out in front of you.
Yep.
At least you are safe amongst the garden. Again, +5. So that is a 19 to hit you, Drago.
Hang on, let me just. No, they have got obviously that hits.
The good news is that I'm going to roll the damage again. It's going to be the same damage, 3d8, but we're going to split it between the two of you, so you'll only take half of this damage each.
Feel like that's unfair, but fine. I'm not in charge.
Oops, I've only rolled a 1 there, so I've got another 2 more dice. You might all be okay, you see. You might another 2 dice there. Oh no, that's an 8 and a 5. So that is 14 points of damage. So that's 7 to you, Roja, and 7 to you, Drago.
Roger is dying.
Yeah. What about you, Drago?
Drago is hanging on by a thread.
Okay. We come back to you, Thorsten. Can you give me another D20 roll, please? Yeah. Times are terrible here. What are you going to do?
I really don't know whether I should re-roll that. Yeah.
You can, if you've got luck, re-roll this.
Yeah, I'm going to re-roll that. I'm burning my 1 luck. This could go badly. Just a 5.
Yep. So, what are you going to do?
Seeing the carnage play out in front of me, at this point, Thorsten takes his one opportunity to charge the beast and hopefully attack from cover, unawares, as it were.
Sounds good to me. Sounds very good to me.
So rolling to hit.
I'll give you advantage on this, as you did run headlong into the jungle and take a chance of horrific things happening to you. So you've got advantage to hit. You're going to need a 15 to hit. This will be unseen. Okay, that's a hit. Roll your
3d4, given the ferocity of coming from 6 points of damage.
Okay, very nice. You slice and dig deep into this thing. It turns though and can't look to you, its head impaled. But it looks like it is going to swing down upon you, perhaps using Roger as another wet stick. Roger, this isn't good. Yeah. Heartbeats have passed and something's wrong with Thorsten. He's drawn his blade and he's waving it around wildly, his eyes dilated. He's screaming that there's some beast. He ran into the bushes and then leapt out again. He's lost his mind. You can't see anything. You're perfectly okay. Thorsten looks, there's a madness upon him.
I will approach Thorsten and whisper to him, fix your mask on correctly. I think your mask is not on correctly.
A strange abyssal speak. There's another thing that is coming for you now from the darkness, Thorsten. It's whispering things at you.
The mask has always been on.
Yeah, the mask has been always on.
Yeah.
Drago, what would you like to do?
So, what do I see?
You see Thorsten with his blades out, slashing at the air. It looks though that he's turning his attentions towards Roja now.
Then I am going to, and he's the only thing in this clearing.
Yeah.
Then I am going to attempt to body slam him and drive him to the ground.
Okay. So
trying to avoid getting hit with any weapons and just using my superior size and body weight to just try and pin him to the ground and stop him from hurting.
Okay, this is going to be opposed, so this is your strength. against your strength, Thorsten.
Okay.
This can only go well. Okay. 10 for me.
3
Christ.
for Thorsten.
Okay, so you are forced to the ground at the moment, Thorsten. It has you, this creature, this thing. When you look up, though, you realise it's not the creature, something else. You realise it's Drago. Drago covered in blood, or maybe raised from the dead, or something like that. It's just terrible. Can you give me another d20 roll, this time with advantage? Oh, that
Ooh.
20. Then your senses sort of come to you as you realise it is Drago and Roger. They are wrestling with you. No sign of the creature that you saw. No sign of the head. Your senses come back to you.
That was weird. Something's happened. Why am I pinned by Drago?
Well, you were waving your dagger around like a madman at something.
There was the beast that we'd been warned of. It had taken massive chunks out of each of you.
No, we're
I-
perfectly fine.
You had a moment. Can I have a look at Thorsten's mask in comparison, to ours, to see if was wasn't on right or was?
You look at it, the mask itself seems to be on, but you do notice there is sort of pollen around it. And as you look at Rogers, you notice there's pollen around Rogers.
And I will point this out. I think these are only as good as we may have had a bum deal. Maybe take a breath and try.
Oh wait, it's because we're not clean shaven. The mask won't fit.
Yeah, that's a familiar problem. Okay.
But of course, as you begin to realise it was perhaps hallucinations is the word I'm looking for, brought on by the pollen. Noise has been made, and that noise has drawn the real beasts. As you see, moving quietly through the jungle, a great black cat sort of beginning to stalk you, ready in this moment to pounce. Drago, you on top of Thorsten, Roger kneeling close by, and this is for real this time. And this is the perfect point to end it on a cliffhanger, as the beast of the Gardens of Doom is about to strike at you. Okay. Well done. You are not out of the frying pan at the moment.
However, are we also not out of hit points?
No, you haven't taken any damage whatsoever.
Excellent.
It was all Thorsten's imagination. And even in his imagination, he was a hero, coming in at the last moment to save you all, where he could have perhaps run further into the gardens, which would have been very interesting, as the beast, the black cat, might have tried to take Thorsten out by himself. So staying together, doing the heroic thing, perhaps has kept you all together. but can you survive the onslaught of this? It's a mundane beast, but I say that it is a black panther, something that is quite difficult and quite unpleasant to tangle with. But we will see how that works out at the very start of the next session. So, as always, thank you very much for playing. You are right now in the heart of it. You know what you need to do. You know at least of a weakness of your great enemy. All you really need to do is do it, and that is what we will cover in the next session of Shadowdark Times Undreamed of. So we'll quickly go around. Did you have a good time? Favorite bits, that kind of thing. We'll start with you, Natasha.
Yeah, you really had me with doing that 13 damage and then slamming Roger around like a stick and then killing him off, basically. I already had D4 ready to go to roll.
Go, yeah. Now it's an interesting one. I'm not sure how to do hallucinations, because you kind of don't want the players to know it's an hallucination. I was getting you to roll. I didn't ask for your con modifiers because I already knew them. You didn't have advantage because of the mask, but it lowered the DC. And unfortunately, Thorsten, you didn't beat the DC, which is why I chose you. I tried to make the rolls for that to seem like almost perception rolls of seeing it rather than you sort of knowing that. So it was a little bit of a jump scare, and to see, and you all stood and fought, and well done. It's kept you together for this real encounter, because I don't like to say in an ideal situation, having you all scatter amongst the gardens and then suddenly be picked off by this sort of apex predator would have been interesting. But you did the clever thing, which big thumbs up. Matt,
Yeah, no,
thoughts?
thoroughly enjoyable. Baffling, but in a good way. And really enjoyed again, the way the dice worked for us and gave us that the aid in our burglary attempt was really nice as well.
Yeah.
No, it was really good.
Absolutely. I was. Well, I'm not going to say that, but I'll let you do that. No, it was good. It's been a very sort of role play and kind of finding out what you might need to do, and the burglary was a sensible thing to do, as you have, Thorsten, you uncovered a very important information that it is very much a game changer. At least you know now that you have that Achilles heel. It's not certain, but it's at least a good step in the right direction of what you might need to do. How about you, Malcolm?
Really good session. Really enjoyed a little bit more world building, finding a few more characters, few more locations of the city itself. So again, contra to that, Shadowdark is a dungeon crawler. No, it's a system for playing games in.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
those games have been great in terms of, as I say, a city, a living experience, a little bit of legwork, a little bit of, you use the phrase pay dirt when it came up. So, yeah,
No, absolutely.
really good.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing you climb up and confront the big bad of this story arc, basically, next time as well. So I think without further ado, thank you very much, all of you, for spending time with me again. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please, if you've enjoyed it, give us a like and a subscribe and all of that kind of nonsense. It really will help us out. But you will be able to see what happens next in about a week's time, or if you're watching this on Saturday or in a week's time, it's probably already posted up. I don't know how all this works. I just do it. In the meantime, take care, everybody. Stay safe. We will catch you all next time in Shadowdark Times Undreamed of. Bye.
And
for
keep
now.
those torches lit.
You heard Natasha. Indeed, do that.
Nigel.